Before we dive into today's story, if you enjoy content like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment below to share your thoughts, and share it with your friends. Your support is the biggest motivation for me to keep telling more interesting stories. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, as Lila adjusted that green dress in the mirror, her smirk a poison seeping into my veins. "I've got a date, Jake. Don't lose it," she said, casual as a breeze. But it hit like a storm, shattering everything I'd believed. My knuckles whitened, my pulse raced. Yet I stood still, too still, wearing a mask of calm she couldn't pierce. She thought I was broken, a puppet on her string. But behind my eyes, a plan was born, cold and unstoppable. I stood there, frozen, my knuckles whitening as I gripped the edge of the kitchen counter, staring at my wife, Lila, as she adjusted the strap of her emerald green dress in the hallway mirror. The dress clung to her like a second skin, a gift I'd given her for our 5th anniversary just last year. She was 32, radiant, her auburn hair cascading over her shoulders, and that smirk cut through me like a blade. She barely flicked her hazel eyes my way, tossing her purse over her shoulder as she dropped the bomb that would detonate my world. "I'm heading out on a date, Jake. Try not to lose your mind over it," she said, her voice dripping with a casual venom I'd never heard before. I blinked, my 35-year-old brain scrambling to process the words, convinced I'd misheard her. A date? My wife of 6 years, the woman I'd built a life with, was standing there, primping for someone else? "What did you just say?" I managed, my voice low, steadier than the chaos erupting inside me. Lila sighed, like I was some annoying kid pestering her, flipping her hair with a practiced flick. "You heard me. I've got plans tonight. With someone else," she said, her tone so flippant it felt like she was telling me she'd be late from the grocery store. The air thickened, my chest tightening as her words sank in, each syllable a hammer against the fragile trust I'd clung to. She stood there, in my gift, her reflection smirking back at me like some cruel parody of the woman I'd married, and I couldn't move. I should have roared, demanded answers, smashed something, anything to match the storm raging in my gut. But instead, I just stared, my mind racing faster than my heart, which pounded like a war drum in my ears. "So you expect me to just, what? Be okay with this?" I asked, forcing the words out, my breath shallow. Her smirk widened, colder now, slicing deeper. "I expect you to grow up, Jake. We've been married forever. Things get stale. I'm just exploring," she said, shrugging like she'd just picked a new Netflix show to binge. Exploring. The word hit me like a punch, my fingers digging into the counter until I thought it'd crack. 6 years, 6 damn years of late nights, shared dreams, quiet mornings with coffee and her sleepy smile. And now she was exploring with some faceless bastard, while I stood here, gutted. "You're serious," I said. Not a question, my voice flat, as the realization settled in, heavy and suffocating. She didn't even flinch, just adjusted her dress again, her reflection taunting me. "Dead serious. I'm not hiding it. Why bother? You'd figure it out eventually," she replied, her indifference a knife twisting in my ribs. No remorse, no hesitation, just pure, unfiltered arrogance. My pulse thundered, but my face stayed calm, too calm, like the eye of a hurricane waiting to unleash hell. I laughed, a dry, bitter sound that startled even me, echoing in the silent kitchen. "So you're just, what? Seeing someone else now? No warning, no discussion, just you strutting out the door in my dress to screw around?" I said, my voice rising despite myself, the edges fraying. She shrugged again, that damn shrug, like I was overreacting to a spilled drink. It's not like I'm leaving you, Jake. Relax, she said, her tone patronizing, like I was the unreasonable one. Relax. She was tearing our marriage apart with a smirk and a shrug. And I was supposed to relax. My hands unclenched from the counter, trembling slightly as I took a step closer, my eyes locked on hers. How long? I asked, my voice a razor's edge, cutting through the bullshit. She blinked, caught off guard for a split second. How long what? She shot back, playing dumb. But I wasn't buying it. How long have you been doing this, Lila? How long have I been the idiot in this house while you've been planning your little explorations? I pressed, my calm cracking, anger seeping through like blood from a fresh wound. She rolled her damn eyes, and waved a hand dismissively. Don't be dramatic. It's not a big deal, she said, like I'd asked about her forgetting to take out the trash. Not a big deal, I repeated, stepping closer, my voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. You walking out that door to let some guy touch you, kiss you, do things I thought were ours, that's not a big deal? Her confidence flickered, just for a heartbeat, a tiny crack in her armor, but she squared her shoulders, doubling down. It's life, Jake. People change. I'm just being honest. You should thank me for that, she said, her voice smooth, rehearsed, like she'd practiced this in the mirror. Thank her. Thank her for shredding me, for turning our home into a battlefield, for making me question every moment we'd ever shared. I studied her, the woman I'd loved since I was 29, the one I'd proposed to under a sky full of stars, and I saw a stranger. You're not the woman I married, I said quietly, the words heavy with a truth I hadn't wanted to face. Her smirk returned, sharp and triumphant. Of course not. I've grown. Maybe you should too, she replied, her tone light, mocking. I exhaled, slow and controlled, locking my emotions down tight. And what am I supposed to do with this, Lila? Just sit here while you play house with someone else? I asked, my voice steady, but inside, I was a volcano ready to erupt. She glanced at her watch, her damn watch, like I was a meeting she was late for. Accept it, Jake. It's not hard, she said, stepping toward the door, her heels clicking against the hardwood like a countdown to my breaking point. She thought she'd won, thought she could waltz out and leave me shattered. But something snapped into focus, a clarity I hadn't felt in years. Go, I said, my voice cold, final. She paused, her hand on the doorknob, turning slightly, her lips parting in surprise. You're okay with this? She asked, uncertainty creeping in, her smirk faltering. I smiled, a slow, dangerous curve of my lips she'd never seen before. No, but you've made your choice. Now I get to make mine, I said. And for the first time, I saw nervousness in her eyes, a flicker of doubt. She hesitated, her fingers twitching, then turned and walked out, the door clicking shut behind her like a gunshot in the silence. I didn't move, didn't scream, didn't break anything. I just stood there, the house swallowing me in its quiet, my mind racing 1,000,000 miles an hour. She thought she'd humiliated me, thought she'd left me powerless, but she had no idea what I was capable of. That smirk wouldn't last. By the time I was done, she'd regret ever stepping out that door. Part must be consistent, natural language, everything logical together. Remember natural language like Native Americans. The sun crept up slow over Tommy's cabin, painting the pines gold. But I barely noticed. I'd been up all night, sitting on that creaky guest bed, my mind churning like a river after a storm. Lila's message, "Hey, don't wait up, might be late," kept looping in my head, her smug little words taunting me like a slap. I couldn't hit back. She thought she had me pegged, thought I'd be pacing the house, tearing myself apart while she laughed it up with some slick-haired jackass. Nah, that wasn't me, not anymore. Tommy shuffled into the kitchen around 7, his boots scuffing the wood floor, the smell of fresh coffee trailing him like a shadow. He didn't say much, just poured 2 mugs and slid one across the table to me, his eyes sharp, waiting. I wrapped my hands around the warmth, staring into the black brew like it held answers. "I'm not letting her win, Tommy," I said finally, my voice low, steady, like I was talking to the wind. He took a slow sip, leaning back in his chair, the old wood creaking under his weight. "Didn't think you would, Jake, but what's the play here? You just gonna let her strut around like she owns you?" I smirked. A cold, jagged thing that didn't feel like me, but fit the moment. She thinks she's untouchable, thinks I'll fold, beg her to stay. But I'm done dancing to her tune. I'm calling the shots now. Tommy raised an eyebrow, setting his mug down with a soft thud. "You got a plan then?" "Yeah," I said, leaning forward, my hands tightening around the mug till my knuckles ached. "I'm not just walking away. I'm taking everything, house, money, dignity, all of it. She doesn't get to waltz off with half my life after this." Tommy nodded slow, like he was weighing my words against the man he knew me to be. "Sounds like you're gearing up for war, brother. You sure you're ready for that?" "Ready?" I laughed, sharp and raw, the sounds scraping my throat. She stood there in my house, in a dress I bought her, smirked at me like I was nothing, and told me she's exploring. I've been ready since the second she walked out that door. My voice trembled at the edges, not from weakness, but from the fire building inside me, hot and steady, waiting to burn. He didn't flinch, just studied me, his jaw tight. "All right, so how you pulling this off?" I pulled out my phone, scrolled to a number I hadn't used in years, and hit call. Tommy's brow furrowed, but he stayed quiet as the line rang. "Ron," I said when the gruff voice picked up. "It's Jake. I need you, man." Ron Baxter was a lawyer, the best I'd ever known, a guy who'd chew through concrete to win a case. We'd been buddies back in college. Before life split us down different trails, he'd gone into law. I'd gone into construction. "Jake, hell, been a minute," he rumbled, his voice like gravel over a fire. "What's up?" "Lila's cheating, Ron. Told me straight to my face she's going on dates. I want a divorce, and I want it to hurt her," I said. No sugar, no hesitation. A long pause, then a low chuckle. "Damn, son, she's got stones, all right. Meet me in an hour, my office." I hung up, meeting Tommy's gaze. "That's step 1, I said, standing, my legs steady now, purpose locking into place like a loaded gun. "I'm not just ending this, I'm burying her in it." Tommy grinned, a rare flash of teeth. "That's the Jake I remember. Go get her, man." The drive back to Portland was a blur, my hands gripping the wheel, my mind razor sharp. Ron's office was downtown, a sleek glass box that smelled like money and victory. He was waiting when I walked in, 40 years old, gray streaking his temples, a cigar already smoldering between his fingers. "Sit," he said, nodding to the chair across his desk, flipping open a notepad. "Tell me everything." I did. Every word, every smirk, every shrug Lila had thrown at me spilled out like blood from a cut. The way she'd adjusted that green dress, the way she'd checked her watch, the way she dared me to react, all of it. Ron listened, nodding, his pen scratching the page like a war drum. When I finished, he leaned back, puffing smoke, his eyes glinting like a hawk's. "She's cocky. That's good. Cocky people don't see the axe coming. What's that mean?" I asked, leaning forward, my pulse kicking up. "Means you haven't flipped out yet. She thinks you're still spinning. Heartbroken. That's our edge. We hit her hard, clean and quiet. Divorce papers in your favor. Infidelity evidence stacked high. She won't know what hit her till it's over," he said, smirking around his cigar. I exhaled, tension bleeding out of me, replaced by something colder, sharper. "How do we make it stick?" "Proof," Ron said, tapping the desk. "Texts, calls, anything showing she's been stepping out. You got her phone? I shook my head. Never checked it. Didn't think I had to. He waved a hand. Don't sweat it. She's sloppy. Bragging about it to your face. There's a trail. I'll dig it up. You just keep cool. Act like nothing's changed. Let her think she's still running the show. I nodded, the plan sinking in, solid as stone. All right, do it. That night, I went home. The house smelled like her jasmine and betrayal, and it hit me like a fist. I walked through the living room, past the couch where we'd binge-watched shows, past the photos I'd wanted to smash but hadn't. Then I heard her key in the lock. My heart thudded, but I kept my face blank, leaning against the kitchen island like I'd been waiting for a pizza. Not her. Lila stepped in, tossing her purse on the counter, freezing when she saw me. "Oh, you're home," she said, her voice tight, like she'd expected me to be gone, crying into a bottle somewhere. Her hair was mussed. Her lipstick smudged signs she'd been out living her exploration. "Where else would I be?" I said, casual, tilting my head. Her eyes narrowed, searching me, waiting for the explosion she'd banked on. I didn't give it to her. "How was your date?" I asked instead, my tone light, like I was asking about the weather. She blinked, thrown, then plastered on a sweet smile. "Great, thanks for asking," she said. Too smooth, too rehearsed. I nodded, gesturing to the table where a stack of papers sat, neat and waiting. Her gaze followed, and the second she saw them, her smirk vanished, her face paling like she'd seen a ghost. "What's this?" she asked, slow, cautious, her fingers hovering over the folder. "Divorce papers," I said, smooth as silk, watching her world tilt. Figured I'd save us both the hassle. Her lips parted, shock flashing across her face, raw and unfiltered. "You're serious?" she whispered, her voice smaller now, cracking at the edges. "Dead serious," I said, mimicking her earlier tone, letting it cut. She laughed, a breathless, hollow sound, shaking her head. "So that's it? You're just done?" "Yep," I said, smiling that cold smile again, the one she didn't recognize. Her eyes darted, panic creeping in, her hands trembling slightly. She'd expected me to fight, to beg, to crumble. She hadn't expected this me, calm, in control, turning her game upside down. "You can't do this," she started, but I cut her off, stepping closer, my voice low and final. "I already did, Lila. You made your choice. Now live with it." She stared at me, her mask slipping, fear flickering where her arrogance used to be. I turned, heading upstairs, leaving her standing there, stunned, the papers glaring up at her like a judge's gavel. She thought she'd broken me, but she'd just lit the match, and I was about to burn her whole damn world down. I locked the bedroom door behind me, the click sharp in the quiet house, not because I was scared of Lila, but because I was done giving her anything space, time, a damn word. She'd had her chance to talk, to explain, to be real with me, and instead she'd smirked and strutted out like a queen off to her throne. Now, she could stew downstairs, choking on the mess she'd made. I sat on the edge of the bed, my hands steady, my breath slow, the fire in my chest burning hot and controlled. For the first time in years, I wasn't reacting, I was acting, and it felt good, like waking up after a long, bad dream. Downstairs, I heard her moving, the clink of a glass, the shuffle of her heels on the hardwood little signs. She was still there, rattling around like a ghost who didn't know she'd already lost. She hadn't stormed out, hadn't screamed, hadn't pounded on the door. That wasn't her style. Lila liked to twist things, spin them until she came out on top, and I knew she was down there, plotting, trying to figure out how to flip this back on me. Good luck with that. A knock came, soft at first, then harder, insistent. I didn't move. "Jake?" Her voice cut through the door, sharp, edged with something new, uncertainty. I stayed silent, letting her simmer. "Jake, come on. Can we talk?" she said, softer now, pleading, the way she used to when she wanted something from me, a new dress, a weekend trip, my forgiveness for some petty fight. Too late for that. I stood, unlocked the door, but didn't open it, stepping back to let her come to me. The knob turned, and she pushed in, her hazel eyes wide, her mask cracked. She looked different, smaller, unsteady. The arrogance drained out of her like water from a busted dam. "So, you're just ending it," she said, folding her arms tight, trying to hold herself together. "Yeah," I said, simple, my voice flat as the plains, meeting her gaze without blinking. She exhaled, shaking her head like I'd lost my mind. "This is crazy, Jake. You're throwing everything away over one night." I laughed, low and rough, the sound scraping the air. "One night? You think this is about one damn date?" You stood there, Lila, in my house, in my gift, and told me you're screwing around like it's nothing, like I'm nothing. And now you want to call it one night? My voice rose, sharp, cutting through her bullshit like a blade through hide. Her lips parted, but no smart comeback came. "I thought we had a deal," she muttered, quieter, her eyes darting away. "A deal?" I stepped closer, my shadow falling over her. "What? I'm supposed to sit here like a good dog while you run off with some guy? That's your idea of marriage?" She flinched. Just a flicker, but I caught it. "It's not like that," she said, her voice trembling now. "Marriage ain't perfect. Jake, people change. I thought you'd get that. Thought you'd be open." "Open," I repeated, slow, letting the word hang heavy between us. "You mean I should have smiled while you humiliated me, thanked you for exploring while I waited at home, pretending I don't care? That's what you wanted?" Her jaw tightened, frustration flashing across her face, the cracks widening. "You're making this harder than it needs to be," she snapped. But it was weak, desperate. I took another step, my voice dropping low, cold as winter wind. "No, Lila, you made it hard. The second you decided I wasn't worth the truth." She stared at me, her breath hitching, then turned sharp on her heel and walked out, her steps echoing down the hall. I didn't follow, didn't watch her go. I was done chasing shadows. The door slammed downstairs, and the house went still, heavy with the weight of what I'd just done. I sank back onto the bed, running a hand over my face, the exhaustion hitting me like a wave. But under it, something else, freedom, raw and real. I grabbed my phone, texting Ron. "She's rattled, didn't see it coming. What's next?" His reply came fast, "Keep her guessing. I've got the papers locked, evidence piling. She's got no play left." I smirked, setting the phone down. Lila thought she could talk her way out of this, twist it like she always did, but not this time. The next few days, I watched her like a hawk watches prey. She stayed home more, hovering, her phone glued to her hand, checking it every 5 minutes like it held her lifeline. She'd start to say something, then stop, her eyes darting to me, waiting for me to blow up, to give her the fight she could use against me. I gave her nothing, just calm, quiet, a wall she couldn't climb. It was driving her crazy, and I could see it, the way her shoulders tensed, the way her fingers twitched. People like Lila, they don't know what to do when you don't play their game. On the 4th day, I set it in motion. She was out, probably meeting her mystery man, thinking she still had control, and I made my calls. Ron first, locking the divorce tight. Every detail stacked against her, the house, the savings, all mine, her infidelity pinned down like a map. Then I called a guy I knew from work, a mover, told him I needed her stuff gone, tonight. By the time she came back, it'd be over. I waited at the kitchen table, keys on the counter, a single whiskey in my hand, the amber liquid catching the light. The door opened and Lila stepped in, stopping dead when she saw me. Her eyes narrowed, nervous now, her purse slipping slightly in her grip. "Sit," I said, nodding to the chair across from me, my voice calm, final. She hesitated, then sat, her fingers fidgeting, her breath shallow. I slid the folder toward her, the divorce papers glaring up like a death sentence. "What's this?" she asked, her voice small, trembling. "Open it," I said, sipping my whiskey, watching her unravel. She flipped it open, her hands shaking as she read, her face going white. "You've been planning this," I said, casual, leaning back, "so I planned too." Her throat bobbed, her eyes darting over the pages. "Infidelity, assets awarded to Jake, immediate eviction," and she froze. "This is," she started, but I cut in, smooth and cold. "Divorce, finalized, you're out, Lila, house is mine, money's mine, you get nothing." Her lips parted, fear flashing raw and real, no smirk left to hide behind. "Jake, wait, we can." "Don't," I said, hard, holding up a hand. "I don't care what your excuse is, what your plan was, who he is. Just pack your stuff and get the hell out of my house." Her breath hitched, her hands curling into fists, but she didn't argue. She laughed instead, a broken, bitter sound, shaking her head. "I guess I misjudged you," she whispered, her voice cracking. "Yeah," I said, standing, grabbing my keys. "You did." I walked out, leaving her there with the papers, the movers pulling up outside. She'd thought she could break me, thought I'd let her walk all over me, but she'd miscalculated. This wasn't her story anymore, it was mine, and I was done letting her write the ending. I stepped outside as the movers rolled up, their truck rumbling low like distant thunder, gravel crunching under the tires. The night air bit at my skin, sharp and cold, but it felt good, clean, like it was washing away the stink of Lila's betrayal. I didn't look back, didn't need to. Her shadow was still in there, hunched over those papers, her world crumbling while mine stood tall. She'd thought she could play me like a fiddle, thought I'd bend and break under her smirk, but I wasn't the man she'd pegged me for. Not anymore. The head mover, a stocky guy named Carl I'd worked with on a site a few years back, hopped out, nodding my way. "Jake, you sure about this, man?" he asked, scratching his beard, his eyes flicking to the house. "Sure as the sun rises," I said, my voice steady, handing him a list I'd scratched out earlier. Her clothes, her jewelry, that damn green dress, all of it, gone. "Everything on here, out by midnight. Leave it on the curb if you have to. She's got no claim left." Carl whistled low, taking the paper. "Rough night, huh?" "Rough year," I muttered, turning away, my boots crunching the driveway as I headed to my truck. I didn't stick around to watch, didn't need to see her scramble. The image of her standing there, pale and shaken, the divorce papers burning a hole through her pride, that was enough. I drove to Tommy's again, the road stretching dark and quiet, my hands loose on the wheel. Now, the tension bleeding out of me mile by mile. By the time I pulled into his driveway, the sky was bruising with dawn again, same as before, but different, lighter. I knocked, and he opened the door, still in that flannel, coffee already brewing. "Back so soon?" he said, stepping aside, his grin crooked. "Had to finish it," I said, dropping onto the couch, the leather creaking under me. He handed me a mug, sitting across, his eyes sharp like he knew there was more. "She's out, Tommy. House is mine. Papers are signed. Movers are clearing her crap as we speak." He leaned back, sipping slow. "Damn, Jake, you didn't mess around. How's she taking it?" I smirked, cold and satisfied. Like a deer in a trap. Didn't see it coming. Thought I'd fight for her, beg her to stay, but I flipped the game. She's got nothing left to hold on to. Tommy nodded, pride flickering in his gaze. "Good. She don't deserve you chasing her shadow, but you sure you're done?" I paused, the question sinking in, heavy like a stone in still water. Was I done? Lila had ripped me open, sure, torn through 6 years like they were paper, but I wasn't hollowed out. I was angry. Yeah, but alive. Awake in a way I hadn't been in too damn long. Not quite, I said, my voice low. There's one more piece. He raised an eyebrow, but I didn't explain not yet. I finished my coffee, the bitter heat grounding me, then headed back to Ron's office later that day. He was waiting, cigar smoldering, a new folder on his desk. She's gone, huh? He said, grinning like a wolf. Out by now, I confirmed, sitting, my hands steady on my knees. But I need something else, Ron. The guy she's been with. I want his name. Ron puffed smoke, studying me, his fingers drumming the desk. Figured you'd ask. You sure you want to go there? He helped wreck my life, I said, my voice hard. I'm not letting him walk away clean while I pick up the pieces. Ron nodded, sliding the folder over. Ethan Cole, 38 finance hotshot downtown, married, 2 kids, likes to play around, thinks he's untouchable. I flipped it open, staring at the photo-sharp suit, slick hair, a smug grin that matched Lila's. My gut twisted, but my face stayed stone. Married, huh? So he's breaking 2 homes for fun. Looks like it, Ron said, leaning back. For a price, I can make sure he feels it. Nothing fatal, just memorable. How much? I asked, my eyes still on Ethan's face, memorizing it. Ron named a figure, steep but fair. I pulled a check from my jacket, slid it across. Make it sting, I said, my voice cold as ice over a river. Done, Ron said, tucking the check away, his smirk widening. Give it a few days. 2 nights later, I got the call. Tommy was with me, splitting a beer on his porch, the crickets humming loud. Ron's voice crackled through. Ethan got jumped outside his office, late, lost his wallet, watch, took a good beating. Hospital for a week. He'll think twice next time. I hung up, sipping my beer, the night air cool against my skin. Tommy glanced over. That it? That's it, I said, leaning back, the weight lifting, final. Ethan wouldn't be strutting anytime soon. And Lila, well, she'd feel that loss too, her little side piece broken, just like her plans. She fought the divorce after that, dragged it out 7 months, clawing for anything claimed. I cheated, went after the house, begged for support. Ron shredded her in court, laid out every lie, every smirk, every late night she'd spent plotting. The judge didn't blink. House mine, assets mine. Lila got zip. She slunk off to Seattle last I heard, chasing a fresh start, but I didn't care. She was gone, and I was free. Back home, I stood in the living room, the air clear now, no trace of her perfume, her stuff, her shadow. The photos were down, the couch bare, the silence mine. I cracked a beer, sat on the porch, watching the stars prick the sky. Reddit fam, I typed later, spilling it all out. Wife smirked and said, she's dating. I took it all back. House, money, her lover's pride. What you think? The comments rolled in king move. Bro, she played herself, savage AF, and I grinned. Real this time. Not cold, not bitter, just me. Lila thought she'd bury me, thought I'd let her and Ethan dance off while I drowned. She was wrong. I'd burned their game to ash, and now I was the one standing, whole, unbroken, ready for whatever came next. And damn, it felt good.